15 weeks of football. We're at the finish line, and only in college football could you end with the best of the best. Saving it for last. It's rivalry week. I'm Nick Roush. He's Adam Luckett, and this is the Pigskin Preview presented by Prize Picks, where we're fired up to talk to you about all of the big games happening this weekend that will ultimately determine how we feel about the 2024 college football season. Luckett, I love it. I can't get enough of it. And then even if some of the more traditional rivalry games have big spreads, some of my favorites like the Egg Bowl and the Iron Bowl, I got a feeling we're in store for some wonkiness because that's what this sport does. We get a little crazy to end the season.
I mean, I hear you, Tim McGraw. I like it. I love it. No, unfortunately, there is no more of it because this is it. And yeah, I'm excited. I love rivalry weekend. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. But it's also like, man, it's already over. And then Nick, when we get home after this game, it's on with what should be a wild December, one way or another. And so bring it on. Come on, let's go.
It's going to be nice, though, having multiple college football playoff rounds. Like just the old, we've got a Final Four and then a championship, kind of sucked. Having a legit playoff, that's going to be fun. I haven't really enjoyed all of the back and forth and the bubble talk or whatever, so I've kind of opted out of it, and I'm going to look forward to once it actually does begin. It's going to be weird. Just the calendar's going to feel weird. Signing day being Wednesday is going to be weird. Army Navy happening when it happens is going to be weird, but nevertheless, I'm fired up for what's to come, and I'm fired up. I think we only get one Thanksgiving football game this year for college, and it would have been typically it's the Egg Bowl, but they moved the Egg Bowl to Black Friday. I was really tempted to just hammer John Summerall's Tulane Green Wave because they've been covering machines, but the numbers suggested that it's going to be much closer than just betting them to win by 14 points. But they've been covering machines, so Vegas is like, dare you. Absolutely dare you. But this should be a good game. We might have two good night games with Dolphins-Packers for the nightcap. Like that could be fun. But Tua absolutely sucks in the cold, so, hell, it could be over before it even starts, too. I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
Yeah, I think on Summerall, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's been cash is on the road, but home, specifically some big numbers, not as well. I think they played Rice, and that was like a closer game earlier this year when they were home favorite. So that's been the area where they typically haven't performed as well with him. So I think there's probably value Thanksgiving Day, Memphis as a double-digit dog there.
13.5.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Black Friday, I love the slate. The slate's awesome on Friday. We've got some good games. We got some games on Friday we're going to touch on.
Oh yeah,
it's not a Friday without Nebraska, Iowa. It's not a Black Friday without Nebraska, Iowa.
They're traditions that you didn't know you needed to be a tradition. It's kind of like the Egg Bowl. I remember being up here in Ohio one year, and I'm wrapping a bourbon blanket on Thanksgiving night, and No, how can I not remember who it was? It was Elijah. Right, Elijah Moore, the dog piss heard around the world.
Yes.
When that happened. Like, that became a tradition. Scott Frost melting down against Iowa. That's a tradition. I love these traditions. Happy to be fired up for them. The NFL slate isn't great, but there's one thing our friends at Prize Picks are going to do for you to make it a little bit more intriguing. This week they've got a Tyreek Hill square, half receiving yard. Just got to pick more and add one to your board. It's a fun looking board. I'm fired up for it. That's a great way to scratch that itch on what could be a otherwise boring slate of NFL Thanksgiving games. You can also mix and match with college basketball. There's so many sports happening. You got to get in on all of the action with Prize Picks. Download the app or visit them at prizepicks.com. And when you sign up and use promo code KSR, you're going to get $50 put into your account after you make $5 in wagers. It's a deal so good. It's almost too good to be true, Luckett. So Just go ahead,
Yeah.
play a $5 play, use that Tyreek Hill square, and then you'll get 50 more Prize Picks bucks in your account when you use promo code KSR. Terms apply. Visit prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app to get in on the best daily fantasy sports action in the entire world. It's Prize Picks. It's the best. My record, not the best. Not the best at all. But the action has been good to me. Luckett 5 for 5 on anytime touchdown picks for Tuesday nights. Like, even the Wildcat quarterback scored last night at plus 240. So we're rocking, we're rolling, we're fired up to get right. And I think we'll just start with the picks and then get into some of the other rivalry games that we don't touch on. Because when I was staring at the board, like, there's a lot of like initial hunches backed up by like, ooh, I don't know about that. This is just like it's easiest play I've made all year. It feels like a pop, block, and drop them, and that's the biggest game of the week. Texas A&M. Just give me that under. Give it to me. I need it. I couldn't place that bet quick enough because this game hasn't been played for 13 years? I believe it was 2011 was the last time it was played, and you needed a Justin Tucker walk-off field goal to win that one for Texas. But I mean, they've been talking about this game coming back for like 4 years, right? I mean, and then the stakes to it just keep getting higher. And even though we were in that bar watching Texas fans rejoice when Texas A&M lost, we'll still decide who plays for an SEC championship. All of these stakes, the nerves, they're going to be out the wazoo. And I just anticipate a very, very clunky start to this game. These are two great defenses. I mean, there ain't a whole lot of holes in that Texas defense. We saw it firsthand last week. The A&M front is awesome. And Quinn Ewers and Marcel Reed have both shown a penchant for being great at times, but also turnover prone and mistake prone. So I think the nerves combined with the defenses, like I cannot see this game getting into the 30s for either side. So give me under 49. My lock of the week, Texas A&M.
I got to side in that game. I'm laying the points with Texas. Texas is better on the line of scrimmage. Texas has a better defense. Defense travels, especially with how Elko wants to play football. I just trust Texas more. As long as they avoid the big turnover number, they're going to win this football game. And I like them to cover this number. This is their season because they're in a little bit of a danger zone if they lose this game.
Yeah, they're probably not even going to get in the playoff, I would imagine.
Because, if they lose to Georgia, then they're sitting there at 10-3 with consecutive losses with no good wins.
Well, won't A&M go to the conference championship?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But even as a 2-loss team, they'll do the, who did they beat sort of thing too with Texas.
Yeah, it'll be close. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed that they would be out, but it would be close.
Right.
This is it for them. And Nick, I tweeted about this last night. And I'll probably write something about this. I think the winner of this SEC championship game has the best chance to win the national title. Winner of this SEC championship game is getting the number 2 seed. The loser of the Big Ten is getting the 5 seed. Guess who the number 1 seed is going to see in the semifinals? Oregon and Ohio State are going to play again. So, you're going to have to go through a tougher slate where I think the 2 seed, you might not even see the 3, and you're playing the 7 or the 10, which those teams might not be that great. So I think the 2 seed is really the spot you want to be in. I think you could have, the 2 seed has a better chance, I think, to get to the national championship game than the 1 seed. And the winner of this SEC title game is getting the 2 seed, assuming that it's Texas that gets there, which I think it will be. And so I just think Texas is all around better. I think they're better at multiple places. So give me the Horns in a big game. I think they go into College Station and get the win and win by a significant margin here. I think Texas is just they're at a different level than this A&M team. I think Elko's done a great job to get A&M to this point, but I think you've seen them starting to fade for a reason. they're not as good as Texas is. Texas, I think, will
Well,
win the line of scrimmage. Their defense is better. I think they got a better quarterback. Don't overcomplicate it. Lay the points.
offensively, there is a how does Texas A&M score element to this game, where, and I think that's kind of been the issue with Texas all year. Just when breaking them down from afar, they don't have the same flash that a lot of other teams have, but their floor feels just significantly higher than anybody. Maybe not anybody, but you haven't. Georgia's had the peaks and valleys. You've kind of had similar with Ohio State.
They have the best defense, so that's why they've got the best defense. That's why that floor feels that way.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a charged atmosphere in College Station for the night game. Really capping things off with rivalry week, but there's a lot more deeper down. For my second pick, I'm going to Black Friday. I'm going to the game that I shouldn't do it like it. It's against my better judgment. I wish this number was a little bit shorter because it feels like I was probably going to win by 3, but I got to have some juice, some skin in it on this game. I love it. I love it so much because both teams can be a disaster in such different ways. And I'm just a sicko pervert who wants to see Nebraska just spiral. Now, I'm saying this now, but I might even emotionally hedge Nebraska. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just fascinated by the dynamics here because it would be 5 straight losses to end the season if they don't win this game, and then they wouldn't go to a bowl game. I think that's right. I think they were 5-1.
They won last week. So they get to 6. So they ended the streak.
Damn it. Oh, well, that makes me feel better about Iowa then. There's no stakes here. They're just going to melt down all on their own. So, just some of these games, I'm not going to be able to resist having a little skin on. The one, I'm a little tempted by Auburn in a big number. I don't hedge at all, so I might just. We both have Rutgers tickets that we need to get home. I might just double down and say, screw it. Give me Rutgers to win and beat Michigan State on the road. But there's a lot of games like this where I'm like, oh man, the one in particular is just the Egg Bowl, where it's like that's way too many points for an Egg Bowl. And I might have to go to the window and bet this terrible team that Ole Miss could very well win 50-3. But
Home
I might
team
just
hasn't
have to out of
covered.
principle.
Home team hasn't covered in the Egg Bowl in a decade.
And also, where's Ole Miss's heads at? They're
Mississippi State's covered some big numbers this year too.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to lay that. This pick right here. It's not my most confident, but there's so many out there that I'm like, oh, come on, just let's lay the points and see what happens here.
You can actually get a shorter price. There's a couple of books. There's even one book that's got it down to 3.5.
Iowa,
yeah.
Huh.
This spread's all over the place, though, Nick. I'm seeing 3.5 to 5.5.
Yeah,
as
the
a range
6
here.
was on DK, so we're gonna have to do a little shopping.
Yeah,
shop till you drop on Black Friday.
My only worry with this game would be what's Iowa's quarterback situation.
Yeah, that's a little wonky.
I think that McNamara's playing. Sullivan, who was probably their better quarterback, hasn't played or is out until probably the bowl game. They're starting to walk on. What's their quarterback situation? In Nebraska, do they kind of play free now that streak's over? Does that take a weight off their shoulders? That would be my concern in that one. But
looking at
overall,
recent history, you're like, oh, look at all that yellow on the Winsipedia because it's a lot of yellow in this series. So, who you got up next, Mr. Luckett?
Yeah, nooner on Saturday, South Carolina at Clemson. I'm going to take the road dog, South Carolina.
November Beamer.
I think these teams, if they played like NBA playoff style, best of 7, I could very much see this going 7 games. But I like the value the South Carolina's getting points, and I think the South Carolina defensive front can overwhelm this Clemson offensive line, and South Carolina's offense, I think, can have some success against this Clemson defense. South Carolina's done this before. They're really hot right now. So just give me I like the Gamecocks here. I'll bet probably the money line here. I think it's a 50-50 game either way, but I'm catching some points here. I like South Carolina. We know what happened last time. Clemson had that good SEC record, but they played Georgia and just got thoroughly outclassed in week 1. And then it's just kind of been, how good are they? Really has been the question all season. I think that's still kind of out there. So give me South Carolina.
I was very tantalized by this line as well. I could also see this being a chaos game where there's defensive touchdowns, but there's also explosive plays, and that total intrigued me as well, going over. So that one feels a little bit like an over game. Another one that's just a principal play that I can't ignore. Your Eastern Michigan Fighting Factory, Chris Creighton's, they're going on the road in a rivalry game, and they're getting a touchdown. So, come on. Road dog, Chris Creighton, rivalry game, East versus West. Not an East End guy, but I'm going to be an East End guy this time. Give me Eastern Michigan. A little action. I've got to play more action Luckett. Like, that's the only thing I'm good at right now. So, give me a little bit more of the Mac here, and give me Eastern Michigan.
25-9 against the spread as a road dog. Easy, play it. Just don't even think about it. Play it.
Oh, Luckett, your final bet, your final wager has me intrigued as well. I just don't know who they're playing at quarterback. So lay it on me. What's it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, they played both last week. I would assume they're going to have something similar, but this is more a play on Georgia, Nick. This team has failed to cover 5 consecutive times as a double-digit favorite since that win over Clemson. They play to their competition. Georgia does. They have all year, and Georgia Tech has been prime against ranked teams. They're 8-3 against the spread versus ranked foes, 6 upsets. They had a better Georgia team last year, like just on the road. I'm not on the ropes, but they were right there till into the fourth quarter. And so give me Georgia Tech plus 19.5. Again, as I mentioned, there's some let's get out of here healthy if you're Georgia. Big game next week. Sorry, Lane Kiffin. That SEC championship matters a lot. You get the 2 seed, and it's an easier path to win the national championship if you win that SEC title game. So they got a big game next week. I like Georgia Tech here. They're not going to win, but this one can be close, and you could see a 28-13, right? A 31-16, and that gets us home. So I like the Ramblin' Wreck here. And again, Buster Faulkner came from their staff. He had a good plan for them last year against a better Georgia defense. I bet he has a good plan this week. So I like Georgia Tech catching nearly 3 touchdowns.
Seen his name quite a bit on coaching carousel articles, whether it's offensive coordinators or G5 jobs. He was up for the Kentucky job last year in consideration whenever the Cats hired Bush Hamden. Before we move on, just wanted to repeat our picks. I've got the under in the Texas A&M game. Luckett's just taken Texas. He's also taken South Carolina as a dog and Georgia Tech as a dog. Give me Iowa. I'm a little leery on that one, but don't call me Devin. And then I'm also going to take Eastern Michigan as a touchdown underdog to Western Michigan. A few other games. I mean, is Indiana really going to beat Purdue by 30?
Purdue's been they've been a good dog in that game, or in that series, or not dog, but they've covered 5-1 against the spread in the last 6. The old Oaken bucket. It's a big number.
That's a huge number, and I know that they stink, but it's not to diminish Indiana, but this is a rivalry game. They've been bad all year, and this is the best Indiana's ever been, right? Like, you get to take a swing at them. You get a chance to knock them out of the playoff. I think that they'll play well. But I just don't know if I can go to the window and put my hard-earned dollars on Ryan Walters to have his football team ready to play. So that's a lot of points. Maybe maybe worth a look. I was a little surprised by the USC Notre Dame line, just because
USC is written down on my notepad. We're still doing some research there, but stay tuned.
They're very uninspiring, and 7 and a hook is. I mean, it doesn't feel like you're asking Notre Dame to do too much, even though they are going on the road.
Yeah, it feels like a money line sprinkle to me.
Right, and playoff spoiler sort of deal. We're like rivalry week chaos.
I read something the other day, Nick, that said USC is one of 3 teams that has led in the fourth quarter of each game. They're the only team that's lost more than once or twice.
That's wild.
So, like, they're really close, and, you know, if they could just find a way to finish here. I'm trying to pull up this Kentucky number. Why can't I find this game? Do they have this game off the board? I know the number, but I'm trying to look at some other things. There we are. Let's see here. Okay, Kentucky total 22.5. Right, team total. You going over or under that number? Meanwhile, Louisville, has given up like some big point totals this year to a lot of teams. I think like 5 of the 8 power conference teams they've played have scored more than 28 points or something like that.
I would just get the juice. If I'm betting on Cutter Bowley, I'm just saying Kentucky over 23.5 at plus money.
Yeah,
I don't know how confident I am in that though.
I mean, you could over 23.5 would be plus 100 right now.
Yeah, that's so.
If you now, how many games in a row have they scored 30 in this series? I guess 2022 was the only game.
They got what, 28?
26. Should have been 30. Over, you could do over 31.5 up plus 350. Oh my goodness. No props here. I don't yet.
Not yet.
Looks like I'll be interested to see that. I think a lot of people are going to be playing that Cutter Bowley passing yards prop. Just for the fun of it.
But the other part of it too, Luckett, I mean, I don't feel comfortable making that, but if you just are a trend better, you have to take Kentucky here. Like, there's no, I don't care what happened in the season. If you look at this series, you have, like, Kentucky is the only play. It's Kentucky or stay away. They've dominated the series, even with outright wins as a dog. 3 of their last 6 wins, they've been underdogs around this number. And that was when Louisville they were top 25 in 2 of those games, right? So, hell, top 15. So, I don't feel great about it, and I still don't know. I got a feeling Louisville, like Kentucky, will just make some mistakes, and Louisville will end up pulling away with the late win. But I couldn't stick my money on it. But if I had to, I would have to play UK. I just have to.
I hate predicting this game, but at the end of the day, I'm picking Kentucky to win just because that's what they do.
There's really no other way to explain it.
And you say they'll make the mistakes. I look at it the other way. Louisville is going to be the tightest team in America if that game is close in the fourth quarter. They just are. They just are. They're going to feel it. They felt it last year in a big way. That was, to me, why Kentucky won that game. Was because they talked about how much it meant to them, how much it meant to the head coach. Now, they've done a better job, I think, messaging, like getting out of it's win or
we suck. Yeah.
Yeah, but they haven't been good in this spot under Braum as a road favorite. And the big thing I would worry about is Kentucky. Like preseason, Kentucky had to, I think, match Louisville's like all-in mentality in this game. That was the way I saw Louisville winning this. But they're kind of in position to do that because they're playing for, they've got nothing really to play for. They're changing quarterbacks, and we'll see. What this series has told us is that Kentucky figures it out against them. They score. They have their best offensive game of the year, and they figure it out. I feel like they're just going to find a way. And that's kind of when I've dove into this game, that's kind of where I've gotten to. I think they'll get a couple turnovers, and JJ Weaver will do something crazy. And that's the real prop. Like, can we get some JJ Weaver props out here?
I think to your point, Cutter Bowley also has some doesn't know any better energy to him. Like, just
Yeah.
go out there and sling it. I think my concern, though, is just that gunslinger mentality resulting in a
I
couple
agree.
costly turnovers.
And based off his high school profile.
Yeah, like that. There's potential for that there. So, and it's just part of it is like I can't keep believing that Kentucky's going to score points because even when they move the
I hear you.
ball,
I hear you.
know, and that's what makes this game so fascinating.
I hear
It's
you
just
100. I hear you 100%. But like they keep doing it. They've kept doing it in the series. I don't really love the pick that I'm picking, but I just feel like they're just gonna
yeah.
find a way. I don't know how, but I just feel like they're going to find a way. And I think in some ways they match up well with Louisville. You've got Hairston to go up against Brooks now. I think you feel pretty good about that matchup. You've got, we'll see with this Louisville run game. That's the big thing I will worry about is Louisville chunking them in the run game. But we'll see. Well, how that happens. We'll see. I mean, that's probably my biggest concern for Kentucky in this game. But offensively, like Louisville's gettable defensively.
Mm-hmm.
If I was playing Cutter Bowley, I would be zone. I would play a decent amount of drop 8, but I don't think Louisville's going to do that. I think they're going to come after him, and I think Kentucky's going to create explosive plays. And I don't want to get too reactionary to what happened against Texas because there was some game situations I think he had to consider. Texas having a lead when they had to get a stop, they got a stop. They made the plays when they had to, but there was some stuff he was doing against what I think is the best pass defense in college football. And so that's got me excited. What can he do against this pass defense that has seen multiple quarterbacks and some not very good quarterbacks throw for 300 yards? So that's enticing to me to see what he can do against this Louisville secondary. So it's a fascinating matchup. I could see, honestly, Nick, there's 4 outcomes in every game. Blowout, close win each way.
Yeah.
All 4 are on the table to me.
Oh yeah. And man, if it's a blowout UK's way, the takes, they will be something else. Meanwhile, I'm just looking over and some white kid with red hair for Indiana screaming at his team because they're getting their teeth kicked in by your friend Cincinnati Pat Kelsey.
This Mike Woodson performance will not go on coaching clinics.
Oh man, that guy stinks.
Deciding they don't. Indiana, looking at them, they don't really have guards. They've got wings and a big center.
Yeah,
and they've come out here and tried to run all game instead of just pounding the ball inside to Ballo.
Mike Woodson.
Big win. Louisville had to have that win. Big win for Louisville. Now they get to take a swing at Gonzaga most likely tomorrow.
Yeah, I got Gonzaga plus money to win this tournament in advance. So hopefully that pans out. There's so many games going on right now. Like it's great to just get a little action on everything. The Maui overs were good. That was good to me yesterday. So maybe we'll get some more of those. I got thrown off seeing college basketball on TNT. I mean, I forget that it happens in the NCAA tournament. It just feels different. But it was weird when I heard Brian Anderson calling an Alabama basketball game. I was like, wait, what's going on here? And just it's a lot happening during Feast Week. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Loving every second of it. Let's go ahead and start watching some more of these games. Maybe do a little work. Maybe watch some more of these games. I'm fired up for the Governor's Cup. Fired up for Rivalry Week. Cats and Cards noon on the SEC Network this Saturday. Y'all have some fun. Let's win some money this week and have a happy Thanksgiving.